Julian Paul Assange, ESN, born Julian Paul Hawkins, 3 July 1971, is an Australian computer programmer and the founder of WikiLeaks, an organization which he founded in 2006. He has won accolades including the Sam Adams Award and Martha Gellhorn Prize for Journalism. Assange founded WikiLeaks in 2006, but came to global prominence in 2010, when WikiLeaks published a series of leaks provided by Chelsea Manning. These leaks included the collateral murder video, April 2010, the Afghanistan war logs, July 2010, the Iraq war logs, October 2010, and Cablegate, November 2010. Following the 2010 leaks, the United States government launched a criminal investigation into WikiLeaks and asked allied nations for assistance. In November 2010, a request was made for Assange's extradition to Sweden, where he had been questioned months earlier over allegations of sexual assault and rape. Assange continued to deny the allegations, and expressed concern that he would be extradited from Sweden to the United States because of his perceived role in publishing secret American documents. Assange surrendered himself to UK police on 7 December 2010, and was held for 10 days in solitary confinement before being released on bail. He sought and was granted asylum by Ecuador in August 2012. He has since remained in the Embassy of Ecuador in London, and is unable to leave without being arrested for breaching his bail conditions. On 19 May 2017, the Swedish prosecutors dropped the investigation into rape accusations against Assange and applied to revoke his arrest warrant, although the Metropolitan Police have indicated that an arrest warrant is still in force for Assange's failure to surrender himself to the British court. Early life Assange was born in Townsville, Queensland, to Christine Ann Hawkins, b. 1951, a visual artist, and John Shipton, an anti-war activist and builder. The couple had separated before Assange was born. When he was a year old, his mother married Richard Brett Assange, an actor, with whom she ran a small theater company. They divorced around 1979. Christine Assange then became involved with Leif Meynell, also known as Leif Hamilton, a member of Australian cult The Family, with whom she had a son before the couple broke up in 1982. Assange had a nomadic childhood, and had lived in over 30 Australian towns by the time he reached his mid-teens, when he settled with his mother and half-brother in Melbourne, Victoria. He attended many schools, including Goolmangar Primary School in New South Wales, 1979 to 1983, and Townsville State High School, as well as being schooled at home. He studied programming, mathematics, and physics at Central Queensland University, 1994, and the University of Melbourne, 2003 to 2006, but did not complete a degree. Hacking In 1987, Assange began hacking under the name Mendux. He and two others, known as Trax and Prime Suspect, formed a hacking group they called the International Subversives. He is thought to have been involved in the Wank, Worms Against Nuclear Killers, hack at NASA in 1989, but he does not acknowledge this. In September 1991, Assange was discovered hacking into the Melbourne Master Terminal of Nortel, a Canadian multinational telecommunications corporation. The Australian Federal Police tapped Assange's phone line. He was using a modem, raided his home at the end of October, and eventually charged him in 1994 with 31 counts of hacking and related crimes. In December 1996, he pleaded guilty to 25 charges, the other 6 were dropped, was ordered to pay reparations of $2,100 and released on a good behavior bond, avoiding a heavier penalty resulting from the perceived absence of malicious or mercenary intent and his disrupted childhood. Programming In 1993, Assange gave technical advice to the Victoria Police Child Exploitation Unit and assisted with prosecutions. In the same year, he was involved in starting one of the first public internet service providers in Australia, Suburbia Public Access Network. In 1998, he co-founded the company Earthman Technology. In 1999, Assange registered the domain leaks.org, but, as he put it, I didn't do anything with it. He did, however, publicize a patent granted to the National Security Agency in August 1999, for voice data harvesting technology. This patent should worry people. Everyone's overseas phone calls are or may soon be tapped, transcribed and archived in the bowels of an unaccountable foreign spy agency. On 20 April 2017, United States officials acknowledged to CNN that the federal government was now preparing to arrest Assange. WikiLeaks After his period of study at the University of Melbourne, Assange and others established WikiLeaks in 2006. Assange is a member of the organization's advisory board and describes himself as the editor-in-chief. From 2007 to 2010, Assange traveled continuously on WikiLeaks WikiLeaks business, visiting Africa, Asia, Europe and North America. WikiLeaks published secret information, news leaks, and classified media from anonymous sources. By 2015, WikiLeaks had published more than 10 million documents and associated analyses, and was described by Assange as a giant library of the world's most persecuted documents. The published material between 2006 and 2009 attracted various degrees of publicity, but it was only after it began publishing documents supplied by Chelsea Manning that WikiLeaks became a household name. Opinions of Assange at this time were divided. Australian Prime Minister Julian Gillard described his activities as illegal, but the police said that he had broken no Australian law. United States Vice President Joe Biden and others called him a terrorist. Some called for his assassination or execution. Assange announced that he would run for the Australian Senate in March 2012 under the newly created WikiLeaks party, and Cypherpunks was published in November. In 2012, Assange hosted a television show on Russia Today, a network funded by the Russian government. In the same year, he analyzed the Kissinger cables held at the U.S. National Archives and released them in searchable form. On the 15th of September 2014, he appeared via remote video link on Kim.com's Moment of Truth town hall meeting held in Auckland. The following February, he won the Sydney Peace Foundation Gold Medal for Peace with Justice, previously awarded to only 3 people, Nelson Mandela, the Dalai Lama, and Buddhist spiritual leader Daisaku Ikeda. 2 weeks later, he filed for the trademark Julian Assange in Europe, which was to be used for public speaking services, news reporter services, journalism, publication of texts other than publicity texts, education services, entertainment services. Assange opened his Twitter account on the 14th of February 2017 and made his first tweet, United States criminal investigation . After WikiLeaks released the Manning material, U.S. authorities began investigating WikiLeaks and Assange personally with a view to prosecuting them under the Espionage Act of 1917. In November 2010, U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder said there was an active, ongoing criminal investigation into WikiLeaks. It emerged from legal documents leaked over the ensuing months that Assange and others were being investigated by a federal grand jury in Alexandria, Virginia. An email from an employee of intelligence consultancy Strategic Forecasting, Inc., Stratfor, leaked in 2012 said, "We have a sealed indictment on Assange. The U.S. government denies the existence of such an indictment." In December 2011, prosecutors in the Chelsea Manning case revealed the existence of chat logs between Manning and an alleged WikiLeaks interlocutor they claimed to be Assange. He denied this, dismissing the alleged connection as absolute nonsense. The logs were presented as evidence during Manning's court-martial in June-July 2013. The prosecution argued that they show WikiLeaks helping Manning reverse engineer a password. The evidence that the interlocutor was Assange is circumstantial, however, and Manning insists she acted alone. In September 2016, Julian Assange said that he would surrender to U.S. authorities if Manning were granted a pardon by President Obama. On the 17th of January 2017, Manning's sentence was commuted by Obama to 7 years, and she is currently scheduled for release on the 17th of May 2017. While Assange's lawyer maintained that the commutation fell short of Assange's request that Manning receive clemency and be released immediately, Assange has reiterated his willingness to travel to the U.S. following Manning's release. Assange was being examined separately by several government agencies in addition to the grand jury, most notably the FBI. Court documents published in May 2014 suggest that Assange was still under active and ongoing investigation at that time. Moreover, some Snowden documents published in 2014 show that the United States government put Assange on the 2010 manhunting timeline, and in the same period they urged their allies to open criminal investigations into the editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks. In the same documents there was a proposal by the NSA to designate WikiLeaks as a malicious foreign actor, thus increasing the surveillance against it. On the 26th of January 2015, WikiLeaks revealed that 3 members of the organization received notice that Google had handed over all their emails and metadata to the United States government. In the notifications, there was the list of possible charges that originated the warrant to Google and that the secret grand jury intends to use against WikiLeaks and likely Assange too. They were espionage, conspiracy to commit espionage, theft or conversion of property belonging to the United States government, violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act and general conspiracy. They carry up to a minimum of 45 years in prison, if they amount to 1 charge per these 5 types, otherwise, even more years could be added. The United States investigation confirmed its ongoing proceedings against WikiLeaks in a 15 December 2015 court submission. Swedish sexual assault allegations Assange visited Sweden in August 2010, where he became the subject of sexual assault allegations from 2 women with whom he had sex. He was questioned, the case was closed, and he was told he could leave the country. In November 2010, however, the case was reopened by a special prosecutor who said she wanted to question Assange over 2 counts of sexual molestation, 1 count of unlawful coercion and 1 count of lesser-degree rape. Mindre grove valdtakt. Assange denied the allegations and said he was happy to face questions in Britain. In 2010, the prosecutor said Swedish law prevented her from questioning anyone by video link or in the London embassy. In March 2015, after public criticism from other Swedish law practitioners, she changed her mind and agreed to interrogate Mr. Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, with interviews finally beginning on 14 November 2016. On 18 August 2015, the statute of limitations expired on all 3 of the less serious allegations, as the Swedish prosecutor still had not interviewed Assange. However, he is still wanted for questioning over the allegation of lesser-degree rape, and the statute of limitations for this will not expire until 2020. On 14 November 2016, police, Swedish prosecutors, and Ecuadorian officials met with Assange at the Ecuadorian embassy in London about the sexual assault allegations. On 19 May 2017, the Swedish authorities dropped their investigation against Assange because of his evasion of the European arrest warrant. Chief Prosecutor Marianne Ny officially revoked his arrest warrant, but said the investigation could still be resumed if Assange visited Sweden before August 2020. "We are not making any pronouncement about guilt," she said. Political asylum and life at the Ecuadorian embassy On 19 June 2012, Ecuadorian Foreign Minister Ricardo Patiño announced that Assange had applied for political asylum, that his government was considering the request, and that Assange was at the Ecuadorian embassy in London. On 16 August 2012, Foreign Minister Patiño announced that Ecuador was granting Assange political asylum because of the threat represented by the United States secret investigation against him and several calls for assassination from many American politicians. In its formal statement, Ecuador reasoned that as a consequence of Assange's determined defense to freedom of expression and freedom of press, in any given moment, a situation may come where his life, safety or personal integrity will be in danger. Latin American states expressed support for Ecuador. Ecuadorian President Rafael Correa confirmed on 18 August that Assange could stay at the embassy indefinitely, and the following day Assange gave his first speech from the balcony. Assange's supporters forfeited £293,500 in bail and sureties. His home since then has been an office converted into a studio apartment, equipped with a bed, telephone, sun lamp, computer, shower, treadmill, and kitchenette. Just before Assange was granted asylum, the UK government wrote to Foreign Minister Patiño stating that the police were entitled to enter the embassy and arrest Assange under UK law. Patiño criticized what he said was an implied threat, stating that such actions would be a blatant disregard of the Vienna Convention. Officers of the Metropolitan Police Service were stationed outside the building from June 2012 to October 2015 in order to arrest Assange for extradition and for breach of bail, should he leave the embassy. The police guard was withdrawn on grounds of cost in October 2015, but the police said they would still deploy a number of overt and covert tactics to arrest him. The cost of the policing for the period was reported to have been £12.6 million. It is possible that in this wide-ranging game that you began, my president did not play a crucial role, but what you did was not important to my president, but it was to me and the citizens of our country, and I have faith that when you planned this game you took into consideration the consequences, the ambassador told Assange. Assange stated that the plan was not completely honest, but we did consider that the final result would have justified our actions. We weren't expecting this outcome. The result was caused by the United States intervention. We can only regret what happened, and we didn't think much more of it. We didn't think this was anything more than just distracting. Eventually, the plan was not pursued and, under Assange's advice, Snowden sought asylum in Russia. Paris newspaper Le Monde in its edition of 3 July 2015 published an open letter from Assange to French President François Hollande in which Assange urged the French government to grant him refugee status. Assange wrote that only France now has the ability to offer me the necessary protection against, and exclusively against, the political persecution that I am currently the object of. In the letter Assange wrote, by welcoming me, France would fulfill a humanitarian but also probably symbolic gesture, sending an encouragement to all journalists and whistleblowers. Only France is now able to offer me the necessary protection. France can, if it wishes, act. In a statement issued by the Élysée Palace Paris on 3 July 2015. In response to this letter, the French president said, France cannot act on his request. The situation of Mr. Assange does not present an immediate danger. On 4 July 2015, in response to the denial of asylum by France, a spokesman for Assange denied that Assange had actually filed a request for asylum in France. Speaking on behalf of Assange, Baltasar Garzon, head of his legal team, said that Assange had sent the open letter to French President François Hollande, but Assange had only expressed his willingness to be hosted in France if and only if an initiative was taken by the competent authorities. On 16 August 2016, Assange's lawyer in the UK, John Jones, was found dead, according to the first reports after being hit by a train in an apparent suicide. An inquest into his death found that the lawyer was accepted since March to a private psychiatric hospital with several issues of mental health, including bipolar disorder, and closed-circuit television cameras showed no one was near him when he jumped before the train. The death of both lawyers in such a short time span sparked conspiracy theories, and a tweet by WikiLeaks on 21 August said that an inquest rules it was not suicide, implying that he was assassinated. The next day, on the 22nd of August, a man scaled the embassy's walls, but was caught by the embassy's security. On the 17th of October 2016, WikiLeaks announced that a state party had severed Assange's internet connection at the Ecuadorian embassy. The Ecuadorian government stated that it had temporarily severed Assange's internet connection because of WikiLeaks' release of documents impacting on the U.S. election campaign. In an interview published on the 29th of December, Assange said, "The internet has been returned." In the run-up to 2017 Ecuador's presidential elections, conservative candidate Guillermo Lasso promised that he will cordially ask Sr. Assange to leave within 30 days of assuming office, should he be elected. The pro-business candidate said the country's London embassy isn't a hotel and that Ecuador is in no position to finance the Australians' stay there. After preliminary results in the second round of Ecuador's presidential election showed that Lasso is poised to lose, the WikiLeaks founder responded using the same language. "I cordially invite Lasso to leave Ecuador within 30 days, with or without his tax haven millions," Assange tweeted, referring to the revelations made shortly before the vote. UNWGAD finding On the 5th of February 2016, the UN's Working Group on Arbitrary Detention concluded that Assange had been subject to arbitrary detention by the UK and Swedish governments since the 7th of December 2010, including his time in prison, on conditional bail and in the Ecuadorian embassy. According to the group, Assange should be allowed to walk free and be given compensation. The UK and Swedish governments rejected the claim. UK Secretary of State for Foreign and Commonwealth Affairs, Philip Hammond, said the claim was ridiculous and that the group was made up of lay people, and called Assange a fugitive from justice. UK and Swedish prosecutors called the group's claims irrelevant. The UK maintained it would arrest Assange should he leave the Ecuadorian embassy. Mark Ellis, executive director of the International Bar Association, stated that the finding is not binding on British law. United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights Zeid Ra'ad Al Hussein has said that the finding is based on binding international law. 2016 U.S. presidential election criticism of Clinton and the Democratic Party Assange wrote on WikiLeaks in February 2016, "I have had years of experience in dealing with Hillary Clinton and have read thousands of her cables. Hillary lacks judgment and will push the United States into endless, stupid wars which spread terrorism. She certainly should not become President of the United States." On the 25th of July, following the Republican National Convention, RNC, during an interview by Amy Goodman, Assange was quoted saying, "You're asking me, do I prefer cholera or gonorrhea? Personally, I would prefer neither." WikiLeaks editor, Sarah Harrison, has stated that the site is not choosing which damaging publications to release, rather releasing information that is available to them. Leaks On the 4th of July 2016, during the Democratic Party presidential primaries, WikiLeaks hosted information and content of emails sent or received by candidate Hillary Clinton from her private email server when she was Secretary of State as originally released by the State Department in February 2016, based on a FOIA request. On the 22nd of July 2016, WikiLeaks released emails and documents from the Democratic National Committee, DNC, seemingly presenting ways to undercut Bernie Sanders and showing apparent favoritism towards Clinton, leading to the resignation resignation of party chairman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. The New York Times reported that Assange accused Mrs. Clinton of having been among those pushing to indict him, and that he had timed the release to coincide with the 2016 Democratic National Convention. In an interview with Robert Peston of ITV News, Assange suggested that he saw Hillary Clinton as a personal foe. On the 7th of October, Assange posted a press release on WikiLeaks exposing over 2,000 emails from Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta. The emails, ranging from 2007 to 2016, revealed excerpts of Clinton's paid Goldman Sachs speech in 2013. So when I raised early warnings about subprime mortgages and called for regulating derivatives and over-complex financial products, I didn't get some big arguments, because people sort of said, no, that makes sense. According to Harvard political scientist Matthew Baum and College of the Canyons political scientist Phil Gusson, WikiLeaks strategically released emails related to the Clinton campaign whenever Clinton's lead expanded in the polls. On the eve of the general presidential election, Assange wrote a press release addressing the criticism around publishing Clinton material on WikiLeaks. We publish material given to us if it is of political, diplomatic, historical or ethical importance and which has not been published elsewhere. When we have material that fulfills this criteria, we publish. He explains that the website received pertinent information related to the DNC leaks and Clinton political campaign, but never received any information on Trump, Jill Stein, or Gary Johnson's campaign, and therefore could not publish what they did not have. On the 26th of August 2016, Assange spoke to Fox News and said that Clinton was causing hysteria about Russia after the Democratic Party, along with a number of cybersecurity experts and cybersecurity firms, claimed that Russian intelligence had hacked the emails and leaked them to WikiLeaks. This statement was repeated in the Russian media outlet RT. Assange has consistently denied any connection to or cooperation with Russia in relation to the leaks damaging to Clinton and the Democratic Party. Allegations of anti-Semitism. In 2011, the British magazine Private Eye reported that one of Assange's associates in Russia was a Holocaust denier. The magazine further reported that the WikiLeaks founder said that Jewish journalists in Britain were trying to discredit his organization. Assange responded that the magazine's allegations of anti-Semitism are false and stem from distortions on the part of its editor, Ian Hislop. On the 1st of March 2011, Assange released a statement in which he said, Hislop has distorted, invented or misremembered almost every significant claim and phrase. In particular, Jewish conspiracy is completely false, in spirit and in word. It is serious and upsetting. We treasure our strong Jewish support and staff, just as we treasure the support from pan-Arab democracy activists and others who share our hope for a just world. Writings. Assange is an advocate of information transparency and market libertarianism. He has written a few short pieces, including State and Terrorist Conspiracies, 2006, Conspiracy as Governance, 2006, The Hidden Curse of Thomas Paine, 2008, What's New About WikiLeaks, 2011, and The Foreword to Cypherpunks, 2012. He also contributed research to Sulit Dreyfus's Underground, 1997, and received a co-writer credit for the Kanye 13 song Multi_Viral, 2013. Cypherpunks is primarily a transcript of the World Tomorrow episode, a two-part interview between Assange, Jacob Appelbaum, Andy Muller-Magan, and Jeremy Zimmerman. Assange's book, When Google Met WikiLeaks, was published by OR Books on the 18th of September 2014. The book recounts when Google CEO Eric Schmidt requested a meeting with Assange, while he was under house arrest in rural Norfolk, UK. Schmidt was accompanied by Jared Cohen, Director of Google Ideas, Lisa Shields, Vice President of the Council on Foreign Relations, and Scott Malcolmson, the Communications Director for the International Crisis Group. Excerpts were published on the Newsweek website, while Assange participated in a Q&A event that was facilitated by the Reddit website and agreed to an interview with Vogue magazine. Personal life. While in his teens, Assange married a woman named Teresa, and in 1989 they had a son, Daniel Assange, now a software designer. The couple separated and initially disputed custody of their child. Assange was Daniel's primary carer for much of his childhood. In an open letter to French President François Hollande, Assange stated his youngest child lives in France with his or her mother. He also said that his family had faced death threats and harassment because of his work, forcing them to change identities and reduce contact with him. Honors and awards. 2008, Economist New Media Award. 2009, Amnesty International UK Media Awards. 2010, Time Personality Person of the Year, Reader's Choice, 2010, Sam Adams Award, 2011, Free Dacia Award, 2011, Sydney Peace Foundation Gold Medal, 2011, Martha Gellhorn Prize for Journalism, 2011, Walkley Award for Most Outstanding Contribution to Journalism, 2011, Voltaire Award for Free Speech, 2012, Big Brother Awards Hero of Privacy, 2013, Global Exchange Human Rights Award, People's Choice, 2013, Yoko Ono Lennon Courage Award for the Arts, 2013, New York Festival's World's Best TV and Film Silver World Medal, 2014, Union of Journalists in Kazakhstan Top Prize, Work Bibliography Underground, Tales of Hacking, Madness and Obsession on the Electronic Frontier, 1997, Cypherpunks, Freedom and the Future of the Internet, 2012, OR Books, When Google Met WikiLeaks, 2014, OR Books, The WikiLeaks Files, The World According to the U.S. Empire, 2015, Verso Books, Filmography Producer, Collateral Murder, 2010, The World Tomorrow, 2012, Host, Mediastan, 2013, The Engineer, 2013, As Himself, The War You Don't See, 2010, The Simpsons, 2012, Cameo, Episode At Long Last Leave, Citizen 4, 2014, The Yes Men Are Revolting, 2014, Terminal F, Chasing Edward Snowden, 2015, Asylum, 2016, See also Courage Foundation, List of people who took refuge in a diplomatic mission, references further reading books Nick Cohen, You Can't Read This Book, Censorship in an Age of Freedom, 2012, Sulit Dreyfus, Underground, Tales of Hacking, Madness and Obsession on the Electronic Frontier, 1997, with research by Julian Assange, Andrew Fowler, The Most Dangerous Man in the World, The Explosive True Story of Julian Assange and the Lies, Cover-Ups and Conspiracies He Exposed, 2011, David Lee and Luke Harding, WikiLeaks, Inside Julian Assange's War on Secrecy, 2011, Andrew O'Hagan, Julian Assange, The Unauthorized Autobiography, 2011, Essays Rafi Kachadorian, No Secrets, Julian Assange's Mission for Total Transparency, The New Yorker, the 7th of June 2010, Robert Mann, The Cypherpunk Revolutionary, Julian Assange, The Monthly, March 2011, reprinted in Robert Mann, Making Trouble, Essays Against the New Australian Complacency, Melbourne, Black Ink, Publishing, 2011, Andrew O'Hagan, Ghosting, Julian Assange, London Review of Books, Volume 36, No. 5, the 6th of March 2014, Films Underground, The Julian Assange Story, 2012, Australian TV drama that premiered at the 2012 Toronto International Film Festival, Julian, 2012, Australian short film about 9-year-old Julian Assange. The film won several awards and prizes. The Fifth Estate, 2013, Thriller, Mediastan, 2013, documentary produced by Assange, to challenge that of the Fifth Estate, We Steal Secrets, The Story of WikiLeaks, 2013, American documentary, Risk, 2016, American documentary, external links works by Julian Assange at Project Gutenberg, works by or about Julian Assange at Internet Archive, Julian Assange at TED.